Alright, welcome back. We are gonna be checking out the reveal stream from PoE 2, where they revealed what the new 030 update is gonna be. A bunch of information and a bunch of other stuff in there that I've already seen it, so this is not a reaction video or anything. We're just gonna go over everything, pause when needed, and what else we need to do. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz. And if nothing else, I'll catch you all in the next one.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, and welcome to GGG Live. Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of what's coming next for
J-Man.
Path of Exile 2. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so you'll be able to claim your Sun Priest's Incineration rare finisher effect by following the instructions below.
That is cool looking as
Now with
fuck.
that out of the way, let's get started. It's time to give you a teaser of what's coming in Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict.
I have called you here to save our people, to save our way. Over the ages, we have known pain like no other, but we endured, and we became mighty.
That's a new hideout right there, baby.
Now, outsiders dishonor our shores, and we have stood by, doing nothing. Hear my voice, ancestors! Show us your strength! Show us the true way!
Sick. It is so sick.
Understand.
Holy fuck. That boss is insane looking. Yes.
The true Makoi will rise.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this so much. Not having to do cruel no more. 35 new areas, 24 new bosses. Support gem overhaul, lovely. Massive skill rework, we'd love to see that. That's what I was. 40 lineage support, 25 new endgame maps, new items, 150 new notables, sprinting, new trade system. Bro, this has been an overall W in my opinion. There's so much about this update that is in W, like literally brilliant. They brought out this kind of stuff.
Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot to reveal today. We'll start by going over Act 4, the next chapter in the Path of Exile 2 storyline. But that's not all. There's also 3 new interlude acts to get you to endgame, which means we're removing cruel difficulty too. After that, we'll be going through the massive changes to characters. I'm super excited to show you how I've overhauled the entire support gem system, added new skills, and yes, there are buffs. Next, we'll go over the Rise of the Abyssal, this season's exclusive league mechanic, and talk about the new rewards, crafting systems, areas, and bosses that it adds. After that, it's on to changes we're making to the endgame. Then it's time to talk about items, crafting, and oh yeah, trade. That's going to be a big one. We'll then go over our new supporter packs and finish up with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. And after that, at 4 PM Pacific, hatch notes. They're not quite complete, but they should give you some nice details to chew on. We've got a lot to cover today, but first, another announcement. When the third edict launches on the 29th, we'll be having a free weekend for Path of Exile 2. That's right, Path of Exile 2 will be free for the first time without requiring an early access key.
Get your days in.
The free weekend will end on September the 1st.
Get them
so you'll have
days in,
plenty of
man.
time to give the game a try.
Hell
Alright,
yeah.
let's
Hell
get
yeah.
started with Act 4. The story continues from the end of Act 3. Doryani has agreed to help you find an ancient weapon that can be used against corruption, the instrument of the Third Edict. The weapon was broken in ages past, but he believes that the pieces may be found in the Karui Archipelago, the home of the Karui tribes. You will need to journey to Kingsmarch, hire a ship, and set sail. When you open the map, you can choose to sail anywhere you like. Act 4 is completely non-linear, and you can visit the islands in any order you
I think
choose.
this is a really good idea to
Will you
spice
visit the
it up,
pristine beaches of
so it's
Whakapanu
different.
Island? The Karui whisper of a curse that afflicts all who travel there. Perhaps it's related to the weapon you seek. Or maybe you will visit the volcanic shores of the Isle of Kin. The Kin have been more restless recently, mining for sulfite and driven by some dark force. Perhaps you will choose to consult with one of the local Karui tribes. Their ancient wisdom could hold clues to finding the Third Edict. No matter where you choose to go, you will fight dangerous beasts, find fabulous treasures, and battle incredible bosses.
A challenger! Come, Yama sees your soul!
There are 8 islands to discover, each teeming with its own flora and fauna. Act 4 contains over 100 new monster types, 16 new areas, 12 new bosses, and plenty of other interesting encounters. There's a huge amount to show, but we're not going to spoil too much here. We want to give you a chance to discover it all for yourself. What happens after Act 4? Well, until now you had to repeat the entire campaign again before you could face the endgame. But after adding Act 4, the game is far too long to make you do that. We needed something else to do in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame. So what else could we do? Add 3 new mini-acts, of course, and we're calling them the Interludes.
Hell yeah.
The Interludes are a set of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released, that will take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin. The first interlude sends you on a journey back to Ogham. Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild Ogham Village after the defeat of Count Geonor, but there's a new danger afoot. The nearby town of Holton is surrounded by an impenetrable darkness, and each night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local farmlands. You will discover new areas and new bosses.
Oh shit.
You'll need to find your way through the darkness, uncover the source of corruption,
Soon you will serve our master.
and defeat it.
Yes, I shall dance with their corpse.
And that's just the first interlude. The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari, guardians of the sacred water.
This is
They're
such
nowhere
a
to be
better
found.
way than having
You'll need to
cool.
track down the Selkari,
They should have done this from the get-go, man.
find those responsible for disrupting the gifting, fight even more new bosses, discover the secrets of the ancient ritual,
Oh shit.
discover new locations,
That
and
looks
ultimately
cool
help
as
Asala
shit.
carry out her sacred duty. Now for Interlude 3. As Royal Thaumaturge of the Val, Doryani had plans within plans
He's
to save
so
his people
sick
from the
looking,
cataclysm
what the
perpetuated by
fuck?
Atzeri's lust for power. One such plan involved sealing a group of willing Val deep in a great mountain vault near the home of the Asmeri, deep enough to survive the cataclysm. Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their descendants may still live, and may be key to defeating the beast. The journey up the mountain will be dangerous. New foes stand in your way. And the further up the mountain you venture, the colder it will become.
That is so cool, man. That is so cool.
Explore caves of ice and enter the vault itself. Who can say what you will find within? The interludes are 6 to 7 areas each and generally include 4 boss fights as well. When you put that together with Act 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the campaign and 24 new bosses. It's worth making clear that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6 are added, the interludes will be going away.
It's
These
going
are
to be
side
brilliant.
stories after all. But don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interlude are all part of the endgame. We're not just going to throw them away. And with that, we don't need cruel difficulty anymore. We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times on each character. And this was a huge reason that the campaign could feel like a bit of a slog when playing through again. But we do also have another new feature to address that particular concern as well. So let's talk about sprinting. In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll button, your character will go into a sprint after they finish the roll. This is available on all character classes, and there's no limitation on how long you can sprint for. The primary purpose of this feature is to make navigating areas faster when out of combat. Because of that, if you do take a hit while sprinting, you'll fall to the ground.
I don't know if I fully agree with the heavy stun here. Just there's so many things already stunning you just in general that I don't fully know if I agree with this. I'll have to play around with it in order to really figure out how well this plays out in reality, because theoretically and in an idea it's kind of like Diablo 2 has sprint, and if you understand how to mitigate the downsides to sprinting in the early game, you just buy a bunch of stamina potions since they stack on top of each other, and every time you drink one you get 30 seconds added to the timer, and you fill your whole inventory with them and you drink them all. Now you have like 10 minutes of just free stamina and you can run forever. And that's how we used to do it in Diablo 2, right? When you're speed running the campaign. And the downside is if you're new to the game and you don't understand that, you're running out of stamina every 10 seconds because that's how long you can run for before it runs out and you have to walk around for a while. I don't see any way to mitigate this heavy stun like that. Like there's no way to prevent that. So I don't know if I'm gonna like this feature or not. I do like the fact that we're getting no movement speed for sure, but I don't know if I'm totally in agreement with the implementation of heavy stuns if you get hit while sprinting. I don't know if I like that part. The rest of it seems really nice though.
The best idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger. If you do need to run away from monsters, just hold spacebar. You won't be vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any monster in the game, allowing you to retreat from combat. Sprint is a pretty significant change to PoE 2's gameplay. What I like most about it is that we can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want that, without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems. Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign, but there's a whole...
Sprint is going to come in handy too when you're doing your 4th ascent, if you're doing it through the Sycamus, because the time stop feature from the boss should be easier to beat now with sprinting in comparison to before, since there's no add-ons or enemies or anything shooting at you. There's nothing that can hit you while you're picking up those orbs. This might be a solution to that problem, which was a problem because sometimes your character, if it doesn't have enough movement speed, it's just simply impossible to do, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But this seems like a possibility to fix that problem, so I like that.
Giant league to play through as well. I'll leave that to Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems. Now, support gems are one of the most interesting elements to creating a build. They're what enables so many interesting mechanics and different ways to play. But PoE 2's support gem system has just never been quite right. One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character. We didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build.
If
you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability.
Correct.
And we want to encourage you to combo your abilities. Something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem per character. You can now
Right.
use as many copies as you like. This should drastically increase the amount of possible builds and increase the amount of skill diversity.
Right. That's a good thing, though.
There are a lot of potential builds that suffered from the previous restriction. For example, a poison build previously couldn't add poison to more than
See,
one
that
skill.
was one of my
They
big
couldn't use
issues
stacking
right
poison
there.
on more than one skill either. This severely limited your ability to combo with anything outside of the
Correct.
specifically designed poison archetype, but now you can. Many utility skills previously couldn't scale to endgame because the supports that would make them scale were more useful to use in other skills. You would never speed up killing Palm with martial tempo when you would much rather use it on your primary skill instead. There are more examples like this all over the place. In addition to that though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports, and many of the most important ones were given out at tier 1. Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran out of sockets required quite a lot of thinking. In order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through the game.
I don't
For example, double barrel support.
I don't fully agree with this. I think because so if you're familiar with PoE 1, we have regular gems, and then we have transfigured gems, and we have awakened gems, and some others. But this feature is basically kind of transfigured gems because it's at its highest level will change some stuff about the gem, how it functions, and whatnot. And I don't think we should have like level 1, level 2, level 3, and the third one is like the transfigured version. I think we should have level 1 be good enough to where it's just like this is the number. You don't need to have a second level in there because it falls off in end game. So now you need to add a level 2 support gem to it instead because that's better. I much rather want to pull that from the tree and the gear than from the support gem itself. I do like the transfigured version though. I do like that idea. I just don't know if we need the in-between stuff. I much rather they just said, okay, well, we want to give you 20% in endgame. We're just going to give you 20% on this gem. So if you want to use it like early on, so be it. I think that's a better choice personally.
Support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed. At tier 2, the penalty gets lowered to 20%. But then at tier 3, the support gem gets something new.
See, that's what I mean. I like this level 3 one, but the level 2 one to me should have been the level 1, and there should have been no level 1, right? It should just have been 20% less. I don't feel like the 10% is so impactful through the campaign that it will completely mitigate any type of boss fight or anything. I still think it's fair, but the third one is of course the more impactful one. So this one I would definitely, I can see why this one would be like something you can only attain in the later end of the game instead of early on. That would make sense to me.
It now reloads automatically when you heavy stun an enemy. In some cases, the highest tiers might work a little differently, and you'll have to decide if you like the upgrade or not, depending on your build. For example, rapid casting. The first couple of
5%
levels
is
gives
too little of
15,
a
then
difference.
20% increased cast speed. But
I
then at
don't
tier
think
3,
it's
it changes to
necessary.
a new approach. For each different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10% increased cast speed, which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of different spells. So that's pretty good for upgrades through the campaign, but we wanted to add a little more spice to the endgame for supports too. And that's where our new system, lineage supports, comes in. You can think of these like unique items, but for supports. There are supports that are only available at endgame, but they're much more powerful. Like Ratha's Assault.
So
It's
this
an
would
upgraded
kind
version
of be
double
like
barrel
awakened
that reloads your
gems.
skill as you dodge roll, as well as increasing the number of bolts it can hold. But it
Just
does mean that's
cooler.
the only way you can reload
Right.
the skill now. Now, unlike regular supports, you can't find these through the uncut support gem. Just like unique items, many of these can be found from specific bosses.
They're gonna be hella chased and if they don't drop off.
And there's a ton in the regular drop pool too. Some of them are fairly rare,
That one is
others
insane.
fairly common.
Whoa. Add is
Some of
one
them are
level
build-defining.
plus quality to all gems. That's fucking insane.
Others are just straight up power upgrades.
That one is kind of sick too.
All in all, there's around 40 lineage supports being added throughout the endgame, so there's a lot of power to find out there. Now, the new support gems are certainly going to open up a lot of builds, but of course we have a huge range of improvements to individual character classes as well. As well as adding new skills, we had a big focus on buffing existing skills so that they can scale well into the endgame. There's a huge amount to cover here, so we're not going to discuss everything. We're just going to quick fire through some of the coolest changes.
Right.
We wanted to make cold a more useful element on the Ranger, so we've expanded the cold tools available. As well as increasing its range, Escape Shot now creates fragments of ice whenever it hits the ground. These fragments explode after a short time, making the skill better for killing groups of enemies. But not only that, we added an ice fragment support that creates more of them when killing frozen enemies. And a new buff skill called Ice Tipped Arrows that allows all your arrows to create ice fragments.
See, that seems really
This already gives clear to
extreme.
rangers wanting to use ice. But to take further advantage of the ice fragments, Freezing Salvo has been upgraded to shoot additional cold arrows towards every fragment, giving you a nuke-like ability.
This one for bossing.
We've also modified
With
Snipe
the
to
ice
consume
tip,
frozen from enemies, dealing a
on
huge amount more
lightning.
damage, giving you a nice ice single target option.
On a lightning arrow.
And something you might
with
notice
lightning
about
rods.
this is that the
Bro,
bonus is a
that's
lot higher against
gonna
bosses.
be insane.
This is actually a change you'll see throughout the entire game. Since it's a lot harder to freeze a boss, you should get a bigger reward for it. Another theme you'll see throughout the game is making movement feel better. Toxic Growth is a skill that was pretty cool, but a bit annoying to use with the jump that it had.
Correct, and especially
now Toxic Growth
because
is a range skill. So
it's not really, for me, it's not the jump part. It's the fact that when you're in the air, you're still, your character model is still counting as being on the ground, so you get hit by everything. You can't jump over anything with it. So it kind of completely, it completely neglects the visual effect it has and makes it just a visual effect and not an actual physical effect, right? So that's the part that really got me with the jumping skills. On some of them, it's a visual thing, and you can't jump over anything with them, which is why I would use them in the first place, right?
so you can spam it more easily. And we've also added a new poison skill while we were at it, called Toxic Domain. It creates a small area around you that makes all your attacks create.
That's gonna be nice with my gas arrow build for the Bannerman to level him. I think this is gonna be real nice.
Toxic growth pustules, but attached to monsters. Another skill that was annoying to use was Electrocuting Arrow. It's now just a regular arrow, making it easier to use. But it also means you can support it with projectile supports. And it now also has area of effect, making it a tool for more than just single target, and allowing it to scale into the endgame.
Nice.
We also added a new spirit reservation called Mirage Archer. This is a meta skill that allows you to create shadowy clones of yourself to use a skill of your choice. Of course, one of the other big problems the Ranger had was survivability. Evasion was
Yes.
the weakest of the 3 defenses, and we wanted to change that. Currently, evasion doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so you're still vulnerable to things like slams or unblockable attacks.
Right.
To make evasion characters more tanky, we're adding a new mechanic called Deflect. Unlike evasion, Deflect works on everything, and if you successfully deflect a hit, you take 40% less damage.
So this is really, really good. This is a major, major buff to all dex builds, to all evasion builds in general. Just, it is such a buff. It's kind of like spell suppression from PoE 1, but it's such a major upgrade that I think we're gonna feel. This is one of the things that's gonna feel the best in this update.
Items can now give you a mod that gives you some amount of deflection based on your evasion. And there's a bunch of it available on the passive tree too. Deflection is rolled in addition to evasion, so this is an upgrade for regular hits too. And unlike evasion, there's no maximum chance. You can reach 100% deflect against all hits if you spec into it enough. Of course, this is a buff that helps all dex characters, so the mercenary and the monk, but especially the huntress, are seeing big defense boosts from this as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of defensive mechanics, let's talk about block and parry. Now, one of the big concerns on the release of the Huntress was parry feeling unreliable. One of the big reasons for this is there's a lot of hits that are not blockable, and thus not parryable either. So a huge balance change we're making is that now everything is blockable, except for specifically unblockable red flash skills that bosses use. This makes parry much more reliable. And not only that, but to make block and parry nicer to use, you now also move faster than before while using these abilities.
Right.
This is a massive buff to passive block as well. So to counter that, we did have to lower the max passive block a bit, but overall you should feel much safer.
That is also a phenomenal change and a massive buff to basically every character that utilizes a shield. Because you never really used the ray shield for much, right? Like it was more so for shield charge. And now it's gonna actually feel somewhat useful because you can just block shit like with your shield and actually block it.
Fire skills on the warrior were not really cutting the mustard, so we decided we needed to upgrade a bunch of them, but also add some more as well. Let's start with a buff. Volcanic Fissure now branches into multiple fissures, giving it much more clearing potential.
Right.
We've also added a new skill called Forge Hammer. This skill throws a molten hammer that does a slam at a distance. You can recall the hammer back by using the skill again if you like, but the cooler thing to do is to use a Warcry near it. Using a Warcry makes the hammer explode, making a bunch of volcanic fissures around. Volcanic fissures re-trigger when you slam them, so it's a great skill to make a flaming arena to fight a boss. We also buffed Perfect Strike to have a much larger area of effect, and changed Molten Blast to not always force you to move forward.
Now we're
Trust me,
talking.
it feels a lot better to use now.
Perfect Strike having a bigger AoE is massive. That's a massive buff because it was already for killing bosses through the campaign. That's so fucking good. But Molten Blast not moving you forward, like every single time you use it, you just automatically move forward. That change is massive. The entire reason that I don't have a warrior or well, I do have a warbringer. 1 second, let me show you guys. So if we go down the list of my characters, you will see my where is he? No, it's the Titan, right? That's what I used for Molten Blast. As you can see, he's currently wearing absolutely nothing because I was so goddamn annoyed with the build. I went into a game and I just made a public game giving away full character to any new people in Act 1, right? And then I just gave away the entire character, and it's level 90, right? So I played it quite a bit and it had really good gear on, but I was so annoyed with this Molten Blast shit that I just gave it away, and I was like, fuck that character. I'm never using that again. Now though, I might actually go play around with it again to see if it's worth using.
The skill now has massively boosted chance to ignite monsters as well. And you're going to want to ignite monsters due to a new glory skill called Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry charges up with glory by igniting monsters, invoking King Kaum's favor. After you do, use it to channel Kaum's ancestral power. Every
That
attack
is
will be ancestrally
insane
boosted with
looking.
fire. Your very steps will explode, triggering volcanic fissures, and molten balls will erupt from your attacks. Warrior shield skills were another area we wanted to improve. Now that we've got Sprint, we actually don't need to have a cooldown on shield charge anymore. It now also does more damage the further away you are when you use it.
Massive buff.
Shield Wall got significantly upgraded AoE. Also, you can shield charge right through it to trigger all the walls.
That's
We
insane.
also added a new shield wall cry. Fortifying Cry gives you a defensive buff, but it also builds up charge on your shield that empowers your other shield skills. And Magma Barrier now doesn't require timing in order to use. Just wait for your shield to charge up and block. Seismic Cry now stuns enemies that are primed for stun. And we changed the Sunder interaction with Armor Break. It now also gives a Sundered Armor debuff that makes enemies take 40% extra physical damage.
Holy shit.
Great for bosses. Ancestral Warrior Totem has undergone some pretty significant changes too. We wanted the skill to feel more like using an ultimate. That summoning an ancestor to fight for you was a big deal. So we've changed this totem to require 3 endurance charges to summon, and massively buffed its damage. It also now scales with your weapon damage too. Since there's no limit anymore, if you build around generating endurance charges, you can summon an entire forest of totems.
Nice.
In order to make that easier, we added some new sources of endurance charges. There's now a support to make perfect strike generate charges, and a support for generating endurance charges from heavy stuns as well. Speaking of totems, we wanted to upgrade the Warbringer. Among the other changes we've made to this class, Answered Call now gives an extra totem, and the spirits have just been generally buffed in many ways.
Nice.
Use it with your limitless ancestral warrior forest to make an army of Karui that would make Tukahama proud. We've also merged the Great Wolf Howl and Warcaller's Bellow support, so that you can get all the benefits with 1 point.
Hell yeah.
And Encased in Jade no longer removes the Jade when getting hit, making it a much better defense.
This is massive. Because I played with this, and that was terrible. No lie, that was horrible, the way that skill worked. I did not like it at all. This is way more like what I had envisioned when I tried the skill out and I was reading it. I was like, this is more like it. I'm really happy to see all these melee focused changes, because in my opinion, the part of the game that was the biggest issue in terms of characters was melee. And you can say a lot about every other character, but if we look at it as a whole, so we take 0.0 or 0.1 and 0.2 and put them all together and look at the complete picture, the absolute best characters in the beginning was casters. Then it was, you could say, like casters and bows was like the best fucking shit basically. And then you had on 0.2 being like ranged and spears and stuff like that being the best. And now it seems like we're pushing melee to get up to the point where it's actually viable in comparison to the others. It feels more true to its character, right? Like that's what I feel like they're doing right now, and I really like that, because that was one of the parts that was lacking the most. And then having to play through Cruel was like the second thing on my list that was really painful.
Next up, let's talk about accuracy. Accuracy was always intended to be something that warriors didn't need to care about very much so long as they're in close combat. But unfortunately, that's not currently the case. This was particularly annoying with skills like Bone Shatter, which you certainly don't want to mess with. So we significantly buffed your chance to hit at close ranges when you don't have much accuracy. Warriors shouldn't require any accuracy investment in order to hit with close range attacks now. We also wanted to improve armor. Now, one of the major weaknesses of armor is the inability to defend against elemental damage. In order to mitigate this, we're adding a lot more of the stat that allows your armor to defend against elemental damage. It's now available on items and in a lot more places on the passive tree.
This is so massive.
One of the most important improvements we've made in 030 is to declunk the action and flow of shooting crossbows. You can now reload crossbows without any movement penalty.
That is huge.
But not only that,
I've
all
played
skills that can be
crossbows
used
a
while
lot.
moving now slow you for a shorter amount of time. This change benefits everyone, not just crossbow skills. With both of these changes put together, the run and gun playstyle feels much better. It's hard to explain how important this change is for the feel of the class. The Mercenary is also a good chance to talk about how we're rebalancing to make comboing skills much better. Take Shock, for example. It buffs damage and lasts 4 seconds right now, but that isn't really giving you enough time to take advantage of it. If you're going to add a lightning skill into a build that otherwise wouldn't use one, we need to make mechanics like this much better.
Right.
So we've increased shock duration on monsters to last 8 seconds.
Double up.
And skills like Plasma Blast, which are intended to be good at shocking enemies, now increase the damage bonus by a lot more. You'll find changes like this all around the game.
And
Shell
that's
now
what
lasts
it
8
needs
seconds,
to
giving you more of
to
a
be
reason
like.
to weave in cold damage.
Same
Freezing
with,
skills are better at freezing.
yeah, it would
Burning
just
skills need to cause burns that last longer.
correct.
But making skills like Permafrost Bolts and Incendiary Shot double down on how they're supposed to be used, it makes using them in your build alongside other skills much more likely.
Exactly.
We're also making sure to buff specific combos too. The freeze explosions from frag rounds now chain to nearby enemies.
Beautiful.
And using high velocity rounds with armor break will now fragment the opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every subsequent hit, even tiny pellets. So that means following it with a shotgun blast is way more effective. Now there's a lot more buffs to crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added, the mortar cannon.
So the
This one
obvious
lets-
thing here, right, is you use the, what were they called again? Rounds?
The opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every...
The high velocity round. You hit them with that, and then you do the freezing salvo with a bow. Like you hit them with something that puts a bunch of the crystals on the ground, and then you hit them with freezing salvo, because it's like a fucking just massive amount of damage already, and you're now getting the high velocity, at least that's how I'm reading into it, you're now getting the high velocity rounds as well, right? I think I might go that route, honestly. That seems like a fairly good boss killer.
every subsequent hit, even tiny pellets. So that means following it with a shotgun blast is way more effective. Now there's a lot more buffs to crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added, the mortar cannon. This one lets you socket any grenade skill, and using it will summon a cannon which loads and then fires the grenade you choose. Another issue on the Mercenary were banners. They were just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the Valor mechanic. They now just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory. On which, one of the
So
main
I
focuses
have-
was making various minion types more useful to use.
Oh, I have one thing about this, right? Let's go back on that one again and hear that one more time. So I've played my favorite
Now there's a
build
lot more
of,
buffs to...
my favorite build of O2 was my Tactician, which uses banners. It's just a support build that does no damage, but it's so good.
crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added. the
I don't know
mortar
what
cannon.
about the changes.
This one lets you
though.
socket any grenade skill, and using it will summon a cannon which loads and then fires the grenade you choose.
This is sick. This might
Another issue on the
also
Mercenary
be a
were
good build.
banners. They were just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the Valor mechanic.
So, I love the fact that they don't disappear when you move out of them, and I love the fact they last longer. But having the Valor mechanic removed, I don't know if how that's gonna affect things, because now you have to have glory in order to put down your banner. And the problem with that is, if you want to build out a support character like mine, what you need is to constantly be able to place the banners over and over and over and over, so that way you're consistently moving through a map with somebody who's doing the DPS side of things. And if you can't move, if you can't place the banner right after, so what I mean by that is, I'm going to show it right now, is if we're running through a map, if we look at this like a map, I placed a banner to gain more speed, and now I'm going to place the next banner, and then I run out of the circle, and then I'm going to place the next banner. If I can't place them this fast because I have to wait for the for the glory to fill back up before I can place the banner again, then this build is dead, right? Like that, unless they change this body armor to say can always place banners or always at max valor. If that's what happens, then fine, then it's all good. But until we really know that, it's quite up in the air if this is actually a build again next league. I love this build. I made it myself. It is just one of my favorite builds I've made so far. Just in terms of utility, tankiness, and stuff like that, it's just so good. When you're running with people who have high DPS, it's phenomenal. And the stats on everything here is just absolutely insane, right? So if we go to look, you can see the stats are completely outrageous. It's kind of insane. I'm looking forward to see if this is going to be a build next league. I'll probably change some things around. I will probably go all in on armor and evasion instead of having ES gear. So that's probably going to be a thing instead. But we'll have to wait and see. I think I'm going to league start this, so we'll just have to wait and see.
They now just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory. on which one of the main focuses was making various minion types more useful to use together. Melee minions in particular were just not that great compared to ranged ones. As a starting point, we just straight up removed the requirement for minions to have accuracy.
Now we're talking.
Attack minions now always hit, which makes them way better. Brutes got some good numeric buffs, but we also added a new command skill where they do a war cry that intimidates enemies and detonates any frozen monsters and allies around you in a big cold explosion. We've also changed the Frost Mage's command skill to an ability that adds ice armor to your other minions, adding a layer of defense. And it makes them deal cold damage back to the attacker as well. The ice armor also makes the minion count as frozen, so the Brute's war cry can detonate them too.
Nice.
Unearth was changed to work on corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the minions more easily in boss fights. And they also got a new jump ability, allowing them to get into combat faster.
Awesome.
Ray
Those
Spectre
are
is also
already
feeling pretty-
so good. I don't know if any of you guys have played with them. They are so freaking good. Like,
We added a new command
Wait,
skill
what was it?
where they do a war cry that can detonate them too. Unearth was changed to work on
Unearth.
corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the
these
minions
little
more easily in boss fights.
scorpion things, those are kinda insane. They are kinda, they went under the
And they also got a
radar
new jump ability,
in
allowing them
terms
to get into
of
combat faster.
how they are, but they are really good. Like, they are insanely good. The massive issue with them is most of the time it takes them a while to get to the next enemy, but with this jumping ability, they're gonna be fast at getting to the next enemy. That is gonna be insane because they already have insanely good damage. They do hella stuns on bosses and stuff. They are really good.
Ray Spectre was also feeling pretty weak for the spirit cost they have. To be honest, we were a little afraid of these when we first balanced them. We've both decreased the spirit cost for a large range of monsters, and have significantly increased Spectre damage too. They should feel a lot more impactful.
So the question here is gonna be, we have like a set of 5, right? Currently, 5 like different specters. I've been looking into this. That's really good, and the rest of them are just pretty ass. Now, when they're saying they're raising the damage of them and they're lowering the price, does that mean those 5 too? Because if that means those 5 sets of specters, especially those ice shooters and the bombs, the bomb Doriani, the Act 3 bomb throwers are insane. Like, they are crazy good. Really insane. If they're gonna raise the fucking damage on those, or they are already crazy, they're gonna be insane. They're gonna be absolutely S tier. Like, there's no way around that.
There's also a lot of new spellcaster weapons with newer cult skills. But I'll just talk about one of them that I thought was particularly cool. The Reaping Staff is actually a wicked scythe that gives you a new ability called Reap. When an enemy is low in life, you can dash forward and rake enemies with the scythe to cull them instantly, healing you.
Nice.
It can also inflict critical weakness on enemies too. Now, there's a lot of balance changes in the Witch's Ascendancy classes, but I'll just talk about 2 of them for now. On the Blood Mage, you were previously required to spend your first points on Sangomancy, which really was supposed to be the downside for being able to access the powerful abilities on the rest of the class. In order to make picking the Blood Mage a better early option, we've made Sangomancy free, unlocking the power of the rest of the class immediately.
Now that is a massive buff. So beforehand, when I did my Blood Mage, I went all the way to through Cruel and did the entire story, like the campaign, and then I went to maps and I leveled to level 75, I think it was, before I even did my first ascension, because it was just not worth it to me before that, because I had to take this I had to do take it, right, to get to the next 2 points. I had to do another ascend, right? So I waited till I could do all 3 ascends, and I just did all 3 in one instead of and then doing the 4th last, right? But this way is way better, because now you can actually go do your first ascend, and like, you don't have to feel bad about it because you're not you're just getting a negatives with no positive, right? Now you just instantly got the negative thing, and you get to choose your positive thing, right? So that is a major upgrade, I think. Like that was very much needed, and it's actually exactly how I said they should do it. But I love that.
On the Infernalist, the demon form wasn't something people were really using because you lost your weapon stats while transformed. Well, you no longer do, so it's a much better option now. On the Monk, the wind skills needed a big upgrade for sure. Staggering Palm can now stack up its duration if you use the skill multiple times in a row, so you can keep the effect of all your skills throwing up wind much more easily. Wind Blast had the purpose of building up to dazing an enemy, but dazing just wasn't worth all that effort. Now it just dazes on hit, meaning a single Wind Blast will make all your skills stun enemies more easily. Following up with Vaulting Impact on a dazed enemy previously did a bunch of stun. Now it allows you to break your enemy's stance. When their stance is broken, following up with a fast attack will do way more damage. A cool build that certain people always enjoyed in PoE 1 was hand-to-hand combat, but until now we just didn't have a real way to make it viable. Well, that changes now. The Monk, as a true martial artist, now has the ability to learn the Hollow Palm
this
technique,
is so sick.
a keystone that lets you use all quarterstaff skills while unarmed. All quarterstaff attacks now have a special unarmed version, and you get further bonuses to all your attacks from stacking Energy Shield and Evasion on your character. A new keystone we also added to the Monk section of the tree is Walker of the Wilds. This changes Mana Leech to work with elemental damage instead of physical, which is pretty useful for all those elemental attacks the Monk has, but it works well for the Ranger too. Now, one of the least used Ascendancy classes in the game is the Acolyte of Chayula, so we knew we needed to make some changes here. One of the key things we had to do was make the chaos damage that the Acolyte can do much more useful. So we've added a new skill, allowing chaos damage to ignite, shock, chill, and freeze, embracing the elemental prowess of the Monk in a truly chaotic fashion. In addition, he can make all of his chaos damage leech. And we've buffed Into the Breach and Embrace the Darkness by moving the effects of the 4-point nodes into the base skills. He also gains a new notable, Grasp of the Void, which leaves void illusions behind you as you dodge roll. If they're killed, they do massive explosions of darkness, dealing damage to everything in sight.
I'm not sold on it.
Sorceress skill.
I'm not sold on that Ascendancy still. I still think it's just kind of bad. Like, I don't know what to say. There's one good node, which is extra damage as chaos damage. That's the one good node I can think of. The rest of it, in my opinion, is just ass. It's just not worth it. We'll have to see with this update how well it plays out. But as of right now, I'm still not sold on it, just due to how bad it actually is. And I know because I couldn't even get to level 90 on it before I got so bored playing it, and it just felt so weak compared to everything else. Which is like basically my standard for if I like the build or not, is getting to level 90 pretty much. And if they still have their gear and they're level 90, I like the build. And if they're beyond 90, it's something that I really played. Like I liked it a lot. So I'm just with the Chayula Monk. It did a lot of damage. Don't get me wrong, and it's back on the first iteration, right? Like on in the patch 0.1. But it was abusing the tremble toe mechanic, and it's basically it's just a worse blood mage, right? Like that's how I view it.
Skills. One of the things we wanted to improve in the Sorc was
and
the
not by a
ability
little
to
bit,
use
like
multiple
way
elements
worse
together more effectively. Now, this might seem small, but one of the things pushing you towards using a single element is debuffs like Elemental Curses, which lower resistances of a single element. In order to fix that, we're making quite a lot of game-wide changes to these kinds of mechanics to broaden what they apply to. So for example, there's no longer 3 curses for fire, ice, and lightning. Instead, there's just a single curse that buffs all 3 at the same time.
That's how it should be.
And things like Frost Bomb, which gave you cold exposure, now give elemental exposure. You can use it to buff any of your other skills. We also wanted to make switching between different weapon sets smoother, so you can use different elemental staves more effectively. To do that, we've removed the weapon switch time, and now happens instantly. This applies
Before you had to get that on jewels, and you don't even understand how massive this change is. This is insane. This opens up so many possibilities now, and it's actually a major buff too, right? Because now you can just seamlessly switch from one hand to two-handed, or from crossbow to bow, and it's just instant, instead of before where there was like a wait time, and then you could add some jewels that would take that wait time down, but it was like so bad.
game-wide too. Now, we didn't just want to stop there. We wanted to add some specific mechanics that work between different elements, and that's where elemental infusions.
Beforehand, second-hand weapons was usually for shield charge and for the jump, right? Like for leap slam. That's what most people use their second hand for. Very few has a second hand they actually use a skill from, other than Sigil of Power, of course. That's one I can name that's getting used besides shield charges and leap slam setups.
Come in. Certain skills can now drop elemental infusions. For example, when a frost bomb explodes, it leaves behind a cold infusion on the ground. After picking it up, you can spend it on one of any number of different skills to transform how they work. Spark will create a nova of cold infused projectiles. Ice Nova will leave a chilled area on the ground.
So looking at the icon
And
up
we
here,
also added a new low-level skill that fires ice shards. Use it with cold infusion though, and the ice shards will explode. Orb of Storms now generates lightning infusions when you cast enough spells near it. And that's all spells, by the way, not just lightning. Once you have one, you could cast a lightning flame wall, which adds both fire and
so
lightning
I guess
damage
it
to all the
depends
projectiles
on
that
what
pass through it.
spell you cast next after you gain
Or
it.
power up Ember Fusillade with lightning, which will generate arcs to nearby enemies as each fireball hits. Or maybe go lightning on lightning with arc. This skill is now a projectile, and by infusing it, you can go full Palpatine. Get fire infusions by blowing up monsters with Living Bomb. Then use them with Comet to summon a giant fire meteor from the sky. Or use it with Firestorm, which transforms it from a small area into a much bigger one. Firestorm is unique in that it can be infused by multiple different elements at the same time. Add an ice infusion to rain down ice at the same time as the fire. And add lightning to add deadly strikes from the heavens into the mix. Or use it with all three to generate a storm that is truly apocalyptic.
So this is one build
Cold Snap has been simply
I
turned
consider
into
is
Snap.
like a cast on something with that on, and then if we can get that to work like that, that would be insane. That would be insane. So you can just run around, Orber Storms, Flame Wall, Ice something, you know what I mean? Or, yeah, something like that. But if I have to physically cast it, like he got it on there as a cast, it looks like, then...
Previously, you could use it to shatter ice, but now it works to detonate all of the different elemental ailments, and makes them leave behind infusions. And just like how you could previously use it on Frostbolt, you can now also use it on Orb of Storms and Solar Orb to detonate those as well, which means you can create many infusions at once. We also have a Spirit Reservation skill, and a support gem to help generate them too. On the passive tree, we've added quite a few new keystones to the Sorceress section. Here are a couple of examples. The Black Flame Covenant keystone converts your fire spells to chaos and causes your ignites to deal chaos damage. Your fire spells and ignites will also turn purple. The Ritual Cadence keystone causes your invocation skills to trigger more times, but makes them trigger periodically over a longer duration instead of one. Great for those auto bomber builds. Now, in addition to skill changes, we've added a lot more options for the passive tree for each class. Overall, there are more than 100 new notables on the tree, usually around 20 per class, along with smaller clusters as well. Check out the old version, and here's the new version.
That is insane.
It's a lot more dense, and there's more
Like,
interesting nodes than before.
If you're a new player, this might look like impossible, to be fair. This might look impossible. Beforehand, it was a lot. Now, it's insane.
There's more interesting nodes than before.
That is crazy.
Now, we probably can't go through too many of these in the live stream, so I'll just show you one from each class's area of the tree. We tried to be a lot more thematic with the new nodes. So for example, the Molten One's Gift. It lets the benefit of armor break apply to your fire damage. Or how about Last Stand, which gives you lots of stats as your situation becomes more and more desperate. A lot of these have themes aligning with ascendancy classes. Like for the Gemling Legionnaire, for example, you have crystallized immunity.
This is interesting, right? This is a very interesting node. And the reason it's interesting is if you can get immune to chill, ignite, and shock by having an equal number of blue, red, and green, this is going to be a great node if there is a way to set that up somehow. Because then that's literally one of the most annoying things is those things, right? So that is insane if you can, if you could set that up.
Which makes you immune to different status ailments depending on which support gem color you have socketed the most. Another Ascendancy class align notable is Sanguimatic Rituals. It allows arcane surges to generate life instead of...
That one is kind of interesting too, honestly. Having played Blood Mage, this is
unlocking that support gem to be used with the Blood Mage Ascendancy. In the Sork area, you'll find these Archon nodes that allow you to convert all of your elemental damage to a specific element. You become a Lightning Archon when you spend enough mana, after which all your skills will be converted to lightning, and you will do extra lightning damage as well. We have ones for cold and fire too, with different triggers. Here's another cool one. Elemental Practitioner gives crit bonuses if you've triggered a skill recently, while also making crits generate more energy for triggers. Or maybe you'd like the Great Boar. It gives you a reason to stack dexterity to make you tougher, giving a bonus to life and stun threshold. Or the Cunning Fox.
The one before was better.
It straight up gives you 5% quality to all your gems.
Could be interesting.
Now another major change is attribute requirements. We felt like players probably had a few too many nodes and attributes and not enough in interesting passives. So we lowered...
This was another problem, like massive issue. And it was so bad so that sometimes you literally could only use this level gem, like level 7 spirit gem, in order to get your whatever herald or something like that. Because it's the only level it appears at that you can actually afford with the stats you had. So going from like 205 for a max level gem to 157 is crazy. That's a lot, man. That's so helpful. So helpful. And that counts for gear as well. So
attribute requirements by 25% across the board. That means you'll have more points to spend on interesting notables rather than just needing to allocate more strength, dex, and int.
Beautiful.
Now there are way more changes than just these. These are just some of the cooler ones we wanted to show off. But I'd say that's just about enough for now. We're not even half done yet. So I think it's time that we talk about the League, the rise of the Abyssal. And to do that, I'd like to hand things over to Mark.
As you just saw, even though there are major changes to the campaign for this update, we want to make sure that every time you come back for an expansion, each area feels different with something extra going on. It is really important to make sure your experience when returning between expansions is fresh and filled with new content. And the way we did this was through leagues. Every expansion we make has a league, which not only has a fresh economy, but also has new content exclusively available in that league. So, let's delve into the details of what Path of Exile 2's first official league is bringing to the table. The Abyssal are a race that have mastery of forbidden magics and necromancy. They were thought to be extinct, but have merely been biding their time underground. You first encounter signs of the Abyssal in Clairfell, where you discover that during the night, weaker members of the Undead Legion have been attacking the encampment. The townsfolk require your help to investigate where the monsters are coming from and put a stop to their attacks.
Out there, ancient creatures, lurking beneath the surface.
As you proceed through Rayclast, you'll find fissures in the earth connected to larger pits. The monsters normally inhabiting the area are being affected by it, harmed by it even, having their souls eaten to strengthen the Abyssal underground. As you defeat the monsters, the fissure closes and Abyssal emerge, angered by you killing their food. Once all those fissures have been sealed, the pit activates, and more Abyssal pour out. This is where
This
the larger
looks so
and more dangerous monsters reveal
fucking
themselves,
cool.
as hordes of Abyssal spew out from
Having
the pit to
literally
take your soul.
just played Abyss all league on PoE 1.
If you kill a magic pack,
This looks so
then
much
magic Abyssal
cooler.
arise. If you kill a rare, then a rare monster will emerge from the pit,
I love
having
that.
absorbed some or all of its modifiers for itself. This means the monsters emerging will generally be more difficult and more rewarding, as each modifier gives better rewards. If you are able to kill them all, the pit will seal shut. As each pit is closed, it reveals a potential reward.
Looks so good.
Abyssal troves will rise up out of the pits, allowing you to get some epic loot. Areas often contain many pits, with many fissures, and the amount goes up as you progress through the game, getting more intense. It doesn't stop there. When monster mods are absorbed, they have a chance to become infused with the dark necromancy, transforming them into abyssal modifiers. For example, you defeat this monster with the Mana Siphoner modifier. Their soul is eaten by the pit, and a rare monster emerges. The Mana Siphoner modifier has transformed into Soul Siphoner, and is now amplified in danger and reward. Abyssal pits also interact with other monsters and mechanics. If you defeat a rogue exile that's near one,
That is
it'll be
so
revived as a
cool.
Lichborn that has multiple abyssal modifiers. Lichborn exiles even have their own unique jewel they can drop, if
I
you are
love
lucky
this
enough
spin
to
on that.
encounter and kill them. If an abyss spawns near a boss, killing it will summon a gigantic Giga Larvae creature.
Look at that shit. What the fuck?
Monsters imprisoned in essences near abyssal pits are affected by the abyss too. They will
Hell
come
yeah.
with an additional new essence item that can be used to craft your items. So, that's your bread and butter of the Abyssal League. Kill surface-dwelling monsters, kill the emerging abyssal, close the fissures, overcome pit encounters, and reap the rewards. There's a lot more to this league, however. As you complete abysses, you can find ancient pieces of bone, preserved from the remains of fallen Lichborn. These are one of the many rewards for your mission to seal the pits. You can use this on a rare item to imbue it with abyssal magic, adding
Hell
a special
yeah.
hidden modifier to your item. But how do you reveal it? In Act 2 of the campaign, you'll encounter a new area. This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men. After clearing through this area, you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you. So how do you reveal the mods on your Abyssal-infused items? Obviously, just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Before throwing it in, you are given the option of how
Now,
you
I
want to
love
transform it,
this system.
in the form of a choice of 3 different
I
modifiers.
love this.
Once you've chosen your desired mod, throw it in, where it will absorb the power of the souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear on items. During the campaign, you
Now-
can use it as a way to more easily add useful existing mods.
I want to point one thing out here. I really, 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 really hope
Souls swirling beneath you.
that when you press this button right here,
So how do you reveal the mods on your Abyssal-infused items?
and you
Obviously,
put your
just
bow
throw
in,
them in, right?
you press reveal,
Yes, that's exactly what you do.
then you
Before
pick
throwing
the
it
thing,
in, you are given
it
the option
throws
of
the
how
bow
you
in,
want to transform it,
and you
in
can
the form of a choice of
immediately
3 different
press
modifiers.
this button again
Once you've
to
chosen
take
your
the
desired
bow
mod,
immediately,
throw
so
it
you
in,
don't have to wait.
where it will absorb the power of the
Because
souls,
if you
and
have
the
to
ominous
wait
creature will then
every
retrieve it for you.
time for that fella
These
to
modifiers can
climb
be ones
down
from the
and get
core
it for
mod
you,
pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear on items.
I don't know.
During the campaign, you can use it as a way to more
And-
easily add useful existing mods, but during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your items. Like this mod for crossbows, that allows you to place an additional
And I do think that if they want to make this a viable thing for the future, it shouldn't be a thing that you have to go there and do every time, but more so because you have to go through a loading screen, through the like the waypoints, wait at the pool, all this shit, right? I don't necessarily think that's a good idea for crafting, just because you usually when you're crafting stuff, you want to spend as little time doing unnecessary stuff and as much time as you can focusing in on using the right methods to get the result you're looking for. And I also think that once you've done this, like let's say 10 times, it's gonna get old quick. And if for the future, for the next update, if they don't somewhat change it, at least, like I get it for one league, it's fine. I can like I can live with that. But if that's the way it has to be from now on and into the future, right? Like then I don't necessarily like it so much. Then I would like to be able to just open the inventory, use the orb on the item, and then immediately just press the item to reveal it, like we have in PoE 1 now. Because this is kind of a feature that we have in PoE 1 that's called Betrayal, where you can add a modifier to an item and it shows up like a text, and then normally you would have to go talk to an NPC and then ask her to reveal the hidden text, and that gave you an option of 3 different modifiers. And they changed it in PoE 1 to where you can just like click the item in your inventory and then reveal it immediately. You don't have to go to talk to the NPC, even though you could literally put the NPC right next to whatever, like your map device, so whenever you come out of a portal, she's right there, for instance. Or you could even talk to her in the map if you pick something up and just ID it right there, right? But it was just a little bit annoying at times to do. And they realized that, and they made it so we can just click the item. So I'm really hoping they're implementing that mentality here too, that this is like a league feature, and after the league, this goes back to being like, okay, you just click the item and then reveal it.
ballista totem. Or this one that adds spirit to your staff.
That's cool.
Or this one that allows you to generate more combo with your quarterstaff skills.
The totem one was good though. That's
And
insane.
speaking of endgame, you can also use the system to craft waystones.
Imagine if you have
With
to
a
do that
preserved
with all your
vertebrae
maps.
fused into your waystones, you can get some new modifiers that push difficulty and rewards to new heights. Here are some examples of those mods. You always get a choice of 3, so you can avoid anything you don't think your character is capable of. With this modifier, the natural inhabitants of the area are all spawned near abysses, and there are up to 9 additional abyssal pits in the area, making it just a full-on abyss ruckus.
That's crazy.
Or this one, which causes the final abyssal pit in the area to always result in a boss encounter, be it either one underground or one that emerges out. There are dozens of these waystone modifiers in total you can get from this crafting. That covers the new crafting mechanic. So what's left? Well, we talked about how when closing pits you can get abyssal troves, but sometimes when closing an abyss, you'll reveal an underground cavern that leads to the abyssal depths.
It's so cool the
After
way he
jumping
jumps
into
down.
the depths, you'll find an abyssal city, swarming with legions of the undead. When underground, every single rare abyssal enemy will have an abyssal modifier. And at the end of the dungeon, you'll even find a rare with a more powerful Lich-born modifier. Once you're able to defeat this powerful rare, you can also find some nice rewards. Aside from the entire area being valuable due to the abyssal modifiers on the monsters, it has its own specific drops too. One example is a set of lineage supports that can rarely be found in these depths, like Kurgel's Leash. This support empowers both you and your minions when you command them, granting unholy might to you both. Another depth-specific outcome is a set of omen-like items that amplify your abyssal crafting. Additionally, we're adding some new socketables that can drop from the abyssal depths. Take Ulaman's Gaze, which can be socketed into your armor.
That is
These are
nice
a bit
too.
special, in that you can only have one equipped at a time, but give some pretty powerful effects.
Get one.
Think of them as almost a unique socketable.
You get this for the new abyssal belt, and you get it with body armor, so you can get the prevent with increased effect, bro.
For your equipment. In the endgame, where you can still
6%
find depths, you also
with
start
like
to
100%
find a different
increase.
type of underground chamber. In these areas, you'll find an ancient
That would be
spire,
sick.
a device being used by commanders of the abyssal factions to plunge Rayclast into a lightless void. Your goal is simple: kill this commander and destroy the spire. There are 4 bosses in the Abyss League, and there are some pretty cool uniques available from them.
This one.
An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned. It has 2 sockets. But hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of socketables. This
you
one,
can
for
only put
example,
one of
counts
those
as a
in,
helmet.
the unique ones.
I
But
kind
put
of want one that
in
counts as a
there.
body armor. I wonder how rare that one is. You can also find this unique jewel, Undying Hate. This jewel transforms part of your passive skill tree into an abyssal version, and has multiple depths. The deeper it goes, the more of your passive tree is affected, allowing you to fulfill your fantasy of becoming part abyssal lich. Now, the last thing that abyssal commanders can drop is a Finger of the Lich. But what use do you have with a random undead finger? Well, the next time you return to the Well of Souls,
Depends on which
with
finger.
the finger in your inventory, your character will almost feel compelled. To do what, though, you might ask? To jump in. The items you threw in came back more powerful,
Now,
right?
if that stays, I'm
So,
fine with
what's
it.
the worst that could happen?
That this is where
Well,
you enter
you will just
like
have
a
to
boss
find that
fight,
one out for
instance.
yourself.
That would make sense to me.
Along with the introduction of Act 4 and the interlude, we will be adding 25 new in-game maps. These maps will contain all the new monsters and bosses we're adding, improving variety and giving you opportunities to experience the new boss fights many times. Let's take a look at some examples. Rock Pools is a map where you explore a shallow rocky coastline, surrounded by coral and filled with sirens. At the end is a giant Goblin King boss, ready to eat sulfite and squish you like a bug. Holton is an Ezomite township which has seen better days. Explore and clear the township to find a gothic, Reaper-like boss, with the ability to manipulate storms and fry you with both lightning and wither you with chaos. Given some of the new bosses added are a bit more epic, such as the Act boss and final bosses of each interlude part, it would be a bit of a waste to just use them as regular map bosses. Instead, we'll be adding some new mechanics to the Atlas that use them. These start
This is,
appearing pretty fast into the endgame
gonna be
and
interesting.
will help bridge the gap until you do your pinnacle bosses.
To see if this actually
In the
functions.
desert biome, you can encounter a wild sandstorm.
The important part about these is making them feel like not making them feel like a chore, right? So that's if it feels like the towers kind of do, where it's like, oh my god, I have to go find another set of towers overlaying because of, you know. I think personally what they should do is you unlock a tower, right? And within that tower there's an inner ring and an outer ring. The outer ring is what you can see. The inner ring is the like all the maps unlocked in that area. So you can pick any map in that area and then do that, for instance, and then move on to the next area easier that way. So you can like jump between towers faster. That would be one thing I would love to see. I think it's a really good idea to do it like that. You don't want to do... I don't think you want the radius of the unlockable area to be too big though, because then you would just be able to unlock one tower and then jump directly into the next tower. And it shouldn't be like that. You should have to do like 1 or 2 maps in between. That's fine. But if I have to do 20 maps to get to it, it's a little bit different.
3 maps around the sandstorm contain a device you must activate. Upon doing this, the sandstorm's magic is disrupted, revealing the map inside and allowing you to access it and find the cause. This presents itself in the form of a boss, similar to the existing Citadel bosses. This boss is a Favorit Swordmaster, who has been blessed with the power of a time gem, allowing him to take his swordsmanship to the next level by replicating himself, maneuvering rapidly, and severing the fabric of time itself with his powerful slashes.
That's
In the
crazy.
water biome, you'll encounter a giant maelstrom, where one of the maps surrounding the water biome connects to it, but the connection is obscured. You must run the maps nearby, hoping to find a beacon, which will remove the maelstrom and reveal the connection to that map. Another example is this Vaal vault in the mountain biome. But how do we get inside? Running the adjacent maps to it will yield a key, which you can then use to gain access to this vault. Or, you could just trade for one, I guess.
What are those
Use
gloves
the key
he's
to
wearing?
dispel the powerful force field surrounding it, leading to the Vaal Elite and their rewards inside. These all contain Uber versions of the Act 4 boss, and the bosses at the end of each part of the interlude. And
Nice.
each have their own exclusive drop pool of new lineage supports, which, as Jonathan spoke about earlier, are powerful support gems that modify your skills in pretty crazy ways. As an example of a lineage support which can come from the Favorit Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Garuk.
So basically what we just saw there was one of the Doriani boss they didn't show in the clip when they showed off the interlude. That's what they just showed off right there, I think. I think this is gonna be the Doriani boss
Gems
fight
that modify
for
your
that
skills in
interlude.
pretty
Like,
crazy ways.
dual
As an example of a lineage support which can come from the
priests,
Favorit
yeah.
Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Garukhan's Resolve, which causes your critical strikes to fork, but requires some mobility on your part to properly enable.
Interesting.
From the boss sealed in the Vaal Vault, we have Paquate's Pact, which supports your war cries, causing them to inflict massive amounts of corrupted blood at the cost of your own life. Additionally,
Interesting.
some maps can now spawn summoning circles, a room resembling an Ezomite henge. Activating this henge will spawn bosses. It's as simple as that.
Hell yeah.
We'll also be making changes to how affixes and waystones work. As the current prefixes equals good, suffixes equals bad iteration isn't quite hitting the mark. We tried something new here in Path of Exile 2, but after seeing the
I don't
feedback,
know,
we
man.
decided we actually liked what we had in Path of Exile 1 more.
I'm not too
Like Path of
against
Exile
it.
1, each affix will now be both difficult and rewarding. Waystone mods now grant an increase to the number of waystones dropped, and an additional specific upside attached to it. This means as you roll your map, they will continue to get more difficult and more rewarding, and allow you to customize the difficulty and rewards of your maps better. For example, the Frostbitten mod, which causes enemies to deal cold damage, also increases the rarity of items dropped as its upside. Whereas the Of Venom suffix modifier, which causes enemies to poison on hit, has the upside of granting increased pack size. Some maps will end up having a lot of rarity, some a lot of pack size, and others will just have a mixture of everything. Due to now having more modifiers granting
What
difficulty,
about experience then?
we will of course be reducing the difficulty per modifier to account for this. So, that's your Atlas, maps, and waystones, but what about Breach, Ritual, Pinnacle content, and others of the sort? We're making some changes around this too. The first change is that you'll now be able to invest 2 points into your specific League Atlas trees before having to run the pinnacle content. There will be a specific objective for each type of content which grants you those points. For example, in the case of Delirium, it's simple. You just need to find and kill one of the bosses in a map, Omniophobia or Kosis.
Right.
The rest of the points for each content come from the pinnacle content, but we're making some changes to accessibility here too. Currently, access to most pinnacle content requires the same key at the easiest and most difficult version of the content. This creates a negative feeling where at lower difficulties, instead of wanting to run the content, you're often better off just selling it to someone who can run it at maximum difficulty.
Right.
To address this, each content will now drop splinters, which will not form into singular items. Instead of using the singular combined item in the realm gate, you can now just bring your splinters. Upon inserting the splinters into the realm gate, an interface will appear, allowing you to pick your difficulty, and you'll notice each difficulty has a different entry cost. This means if you want to run easier difficulties, it costs less, which also allows you to run this content much sooner into the endgame. Because these encounters now just require splinters, their corresponding Atlas tree no longer affects the difficulty of them, and has been changed to purely affect the content and maps on the Atlas.
Right.
The Arbiter of Ash works a bit differently. Instead of requiring splinters, he still needs crisis fragments. We now have only 2 difficulties of the Arbiter. The first, requiring the existing fragments obtained from citadels. The second, Uber Arbiter, requires calamity fragments. These come from citadel bosses also, but only once you've allocated the maximum number of points in your boss Atlas tree, ensuring those citadels are at their highest difficulty level. Since we're talking about pinnacle content, we also felt that the leveling curve in the late game was a bit too steep. We've smoothed this out a bit so that it's easier to get to the mid-90s.
Right.
We've also added some new in-game unique items. Let's take a look at a couple. Thunderfist is a pair of gloves that grants Crackling Palm, a skill...
That's the ones he was wearing. Okay. They are not necessarily bad.
which empowers your unarmed attacks, granting the ability to call down the storms themselves on enemies you hit. Put simply, literally every monster you hit with your unarmed skills will be struck by powerful lightning. Pair this with the aforementioned Hollow Palm technique to embrace your true unarmed prowess in combat. Another unique we're adding is Henekura's Sight. Equip this amulet to be granted the power of the Mother of Death herself. This is reflected by granting you a skill called Foresight. While you have Foresight, your dodge roll no longer avoids hits, but instead, being hit while dodge rolling restores you to full life and makes you unable to die for a brief period of time. You'll notice when this does occur, a copy of your character appears and takes the full damage. This is you seeing that future,
That
as
is
if
so
you hadn't been
cool.
wearing the amulet.
That is so cool.
Ultimately, your in-game experience should be more streamlined. With new content to find, you'll be able to invest in your Atlas trees sooner, engage with pinnacle content faster, have less FOMO running said pinnacle content, reach higher levels easier, and do all of that while finding many new chase endgame items. Talking about finding items is one thing, but what about crafting them? We've taken a step back and looked at some of our crafting systems to make some notable improvements. Let's start with essences, which suffered from an issue where the regular essences were effectively useless and didn't give players the tools or excitement that a crafting system should provide. To alleviate these concerns, essences are being changed in a few ways. Firstly, they're being changed to function like regals and add
Nice.
specific modifiers with specific values, meaning you know exactly what you're going to get. We
Awesome.
found that players were often bottlenecked by regal orbs when crafting in the campaign, so this helps to fill that gap, allowing you to better upgrade your items.
Brilliant. Finally.
For example, this Lesser Essence of Flames, which will be able to add a flat amount of fire damage to your magic martial weapons. Secondly, we're adding many more tiers.
Right.
That lesser Essence of Flames, for example, has a regular variant and a greater variant too, adding even more fire damage with each upgrade. The intention of this is so that when you find one early on, you don't worry about holding on to it till later to use on a higher level item.
Nice.
You should feel free to use them as they come to get powerful upgrades during the campaign.
Finally.
Lastly, our highest tier of essences, now called Perfect Essences, will function like a Chaos Orb instead of a Regal. So it will replace one of the modifiers on your rare items with the specified mod. Such as this Perfect Essence of Flames. You'll notice this one doesn't just add flat fire damage like the ones before it. The Perfect Essences often give something a bit different, with some opportunities to be pretty damn powerful. There are many different essences, each with many tiers, covering many of the more core modifiers you'd want on items early on, through to chase specialized ones for in-game. Speaking of in-game, we really wanted to expand our crafting options for late in-game crafting projects. You might have noticed that at in-game, you get way too many transmutes. Wouldn't it be nice if some of those didn't drop, but instead you got something a little more powerful? At higher levels, you can now find Greater Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Transmutation. These can be used on normal items to upgrade them to magic, ensuring that the modifier generated is of a minimum level. This is similar to how you find higher tier items on the ground, but for crafting. These higher tiers will also exist for Orb of Augmentation, Regal Orb, Exalted Orb, and Chaos Orb, meaning you can get all of the orbs required to take your item from normal rarity to a fully completed rare with guaranteed high tier mods. On top of these new core crafting currencies, we wanted to make sure there are powerful crafting bases to use them on. Now in in-game, you can start to find exceptional items. These are items that drop at normal rarity and are perfect for your from-scratch crafting projects. They can come with extra quality, up to 30%, or an additional socket to use your crafting socketables in. And yes, they can be corrupted for yet another socket. You can also get exceptional unique items. To add even further to your crafting arsenal, we've added a whole suite of new omens to ritual content, and removed some of the more unimpactful ones that weren't being used. Some of the new omens include the Omen of the Ancients, which will cause your next Orb of Chance to not destroy the item, but generate a random unique of the same class. Or the Omen of Sanctification, which is my new favorite. This will cause your next Divine Orb used on a rare item to reroll the values of its modifiers, allowing it to exceed the normal minimum and maximum values, raising the ceiling on...
So, random value ranging from 80% to 120%, resulting in the item now being sanctified. That's crazy.
The new most powerful rare items in the game. This omen will also cause your item to become sanctified. Sanctified items cannot be crafted, just like corrupted ones, so consider carefully when you use this. Another is the Omen of Chaotic Monsters, which will cause your next Chaos Orb to reroll all modifiers on a Waystone, allowing you to fix your maps if you get some modifiers that are not feasible for your build. Besides these examples, there is a huge variety of new omens for you to discover in your ritual encounters. With the release of Act 4, notably taking place in the Karori Archipelago, you'll be able to now find a new currency item, Henikora's Lock. Henikora,
Just
the
have to wait and
Karori
see
goddess
how
of
rare they
death,
are.
has the power of foresight, and is able to see many futures, including the outcome of your next craft. So, imbuing her lock onto an item gives you that same power too. For example, you'll know whether or not to use an Exalted Orb on your item, as you will know exactly what the outcome is. So, with all these new crafting improvements, it's safe to say you're going to be making some epic items, and not necessarily just ones for yourself. So given that, it's time to talk about a massive one.
Now this
Trade.
is the biggest thing.
It's
in
finally
the update.
here. The moment we've all been waiting for. Fully asynchronous trade. Over the years, the way players trade with each other in Path of Exile 1 has morphed from using the forums, through to the in-game chat, all the way through to using the website. These systems, in all their iterations, work for a while, but with each iteration new problems eventually reveal themselves. Be it requiring you to be in your hideout too much instead of out there killing monsters, or never getting responses from people who are either AFK or just can't be bothered.
This is so
In
huge.
order to finally solve this, and this has been a long time coming, we're adding a new system that allows you to buy items from other players without requiring the seller to be present. They can continue farming, killing monsters, AFK as they please, and can even be offline. With the introduction of King's March in Act 4, you will encounter Ange, assistant to Rog in the Meridian Free Traders Company. Over the last 2 decades or so, since Path of Exile 1's storyline, Faustus has handed down his knowledge and expertise to Ange, and she is now ready to take over his business. If you have a hideout unlocked already, you can immediately invite her there. If you don't have a hideout yet, you will need to acquire one. You can do this by completing a quest to defeat one of the bosses inhabiting an island in Act 4, allowing you then to take a slice of it for yourself, making it your new home and base of operations. Once invited to your hideout, she will now serve as operating your currency exchange, but also serve as the figurehead in your new trading empire. So, how does this new system work? In the existing trade system, you would list items for sale in premium stash tabs. And then when someone wanted one, you'd have to take it out for yourself and trade it to them. Now, instead of using those, you can give your items to Ange so she can sell them for you. Each item must have a price set. The prices are set using in-game currency items, such as Exalted Orbs or Chaos Orbs. Once a price is set, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it on the trade website. Once a desired item has been found, you can hit a button, which will instantly teleport your character in-game to their hideout. Then, you can immediately purchase the item, and while there, if you want, browse their other goods, in case there's a good deal someone else hasn't yet discovered. You'll notice that as a buyer, on top of the currency the seller set for the price, it also costs gold to purchase an item, as Ange has bills to pay after all. As a seller, you'll immediately receive a notification when an item of yours is sold, and can also see an effect above Ange in your hideout when she has unclaimed currency. Just go talk to her, claim your currency, and continue playing at your leisure. As many people already acquired premium stash tabs for the purpose of the trade system, we wanted to add a way for you to convert your existing tabs to merchants tabs, if you want. You can do that here, on the website, but only if you purchase those tabs before the release of the third edict. To clarify, the existing trade system will remain fully intact, so your premium stash tabs will not lose any of their functionality. We just figured people might want to switch over to this new system. We expect a lot of feedback around this new system and are looking forward to trying it out with you. As we are not able to test internally with an entire, thriving economy, there will certainly be some kinks to work out. Based on how the system goes, we will be adding it to Path of Exile 1 when ready, so any of the tabs you purchase will also be usable there later. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Justice and Trathan Executioner packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
I like
As always,
that
the
red one
microtransactions in
is
these
so
packs
cool.
are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Justice series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. claim glory after defeating enemies, or inspire your allies by calling down the Banner of Justice portal. The Sphinx Mystic hideout decoration will identify
That
items
thing
for
is
you,
pretty
displaying
freaking
them as
cool
it does
too.
so. This ancient creature has been presented with many items over the eons, so has some strong expressions to make on the quality of your wares. Become a true warrior, worthy of delivering the justice of the eternal gods, with the Apostle of Justice armor set. This armor set also comes with a matching back attachment containing a set of scales to measure your worth. With the Apostle of Justice finisher effect equipped, the Goddess of Justice herself will appear to decide on a verdict for slain unique enemies. Witness as she
Kinda
decides
cool
the
too.
fate of your slain foes. Will they ascend to be amongst the gods, or be banished to the underworld? The Griffin fledgling pet will be your courageous companion as you journey throughout Rayclast. Take your place in the skies in the
That thing
plateau
is
of the gods hideout.
insane.
This hideout comes with
So
many
cool.
different sections for setting up your home or base of operations.
People already
In order
bought
to
it
travel
because
between
I got
them,
invited
you
to
simply
one.
just need to walk
So,
off the edge.
That thing
Like a
is
true
insane.
eternal god, you can float between the mountains on the clouds themselves. The Trathan Executioner pack series also contains
No,
6
this
exclusive
one is
microtransactions. The Trathan Executioner finisher effect is a brutal display of Trathan might,
Jesus.
crushing slain unique enemies as if they were bugs beneath your heel. As a Trathan Executioner,
the coolest.
you're the perfect master for the ever-hungry carrion raptor pet. It has taken a particular liking to the taste of other pets, and at your command it will swoop down and eviscerate them,
That is so
proceeding to
cool.
satisfy its hunger by feeding on their corpse. The nobles of the 4 major Trathan houses had their mercenaries, but if their hired hands became notably irritating, they'd have to call in the Trathan Executioners.
It's pretty
You
decent
can now
looking.
embrace their methods and become brutality incarnate with the Cruel Trathan Executioner armor set. The matching Cruel Trathan Executioner cloak will shroud you in scarlet as you crush the skulls of your enemies and leave a trail of blood behind you
Pretty
as you
cool.
build up a kill streak.
Pretty cool.
Or use the alternate variant to simply put a skeleton on your back. Be bathed in blood as you mutilate monsters with the Cruel Trathan Executioner character effect. The swirling blood increases in volume as your spree of
That is
slaughter
pretty
continues.
sick looking.
Both this effect and the cloak use the same kill streak for tracking how much blood is shown. After a long and tiring day of executions, enjoy a relaxing game of dice with the Goblin Gambler's Hideout decoration. They'll definitely be playing fair, right? The Pulverizer map device brings a horrid efficiency to punishing the damned of Trathus. Each map you open will execute the next victims. This map device in its true ruthlessness tracks the total number of monsters killed, your kills per second, and your largest kill streak up to the point of the map being completed.
That's pretty cool too.
This is then displayed on a leaderboard so you can take a measure of you and your friends' violence at the end of each map. Additionally, any microtransactions from the supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1.
Hell yeah. That's that. Man, what an update. What a W. What an
Need support
absolute
speed.
W. I can't believe that it's this good. Like, I cannot believe that it's this exceptional, because they went back through a lot of things here. I have been going over the patch notes, and there's some nerfs in there, but there's a lot of buffs too, to a lot of different things. And it's going to be kind of exciting to see what we can figure out. Nobody really knows, because there's no telling what the impact of being able to have multiple gems on of the same kind is going to have to our damage outputs and stuff. It might be crazy. It might be crazy. And there's so many new nodes. 150 new nodes is a lot. So, and less requirements, so we can spend more points on notables and less points on strength, dex, and int. That is again insane. We can actually use some of the other skills like curses and stuff, on characters that's more based off of another type of attribute than strength or than intelligence, with like strength or dex, now is actually doable, right? Like you can actually use those things. That's insane. That's really, really nice. I love that change. There's so many good changes here, and there's a ton of new content on top of a high amount of the things that I felt like was not too great about the game. And one of the reasons why I didn't play the O2 update that much, I only played it for a very little bit of, like, tiny amount. I got really bored with it really quickly. I say a tiny amount, but I played it a fair bit, right? Like it wasn't like I didn't play. It's just I didn't play a lot. But I'm pretty stoked for the future here, to see what it's all about and what's gonna happen. And I'm fully invested into this game. Like, I truly believe that this will become one of the best games out there in the future. It's just, we need things to settle down in terms of everything, not having like one skill that's just outperforming everything by like miles. We need to have like a good handful of skills that's just super top tier, and then they swap them around every two leagues, for instance. They swap it around, so it's not always the same exact skills that's the best skills. That would be amazing. I would love to see something like that with the amount of skills we have. And this is also going to really show which support gems are lacking in terms of use, because we're going to open up usage of so many other things with all the supports that we can now put on each skill, that there'll be like a handful that will never get used, and they'll be able to see the numbers on that, and then they'll probably change a bunch of them that they feel like is underperforming in some kind of way. So I'm looking forward to that too. I think the future holds a lot for this game. I'm not worried at all. And yeah, if you like the video, and if you want to, you can catch me on the live Thursdays on YouTube and Tuesdays on Twitch. And other than that, I hope you all have a good day, good evening, whatever it is for you, and I'll catch you all in the next one.